Okay, so the floating jaw, we have symmetry about the center line there. This jaw and this jaw are the same, but that's been a mistake for a while that really this one needs the M12 by 1.75 and this one the M5 by 0.8 for the jaws to connect to. So these are like the hard jaws or the consumable jaws, and then last we have the cap. So see if we can go through these. So the geometry, probably the one mantra that comes to mind when even the vice body is the reason we're putting those fillets in there is round tools do not cut square holes. So we want this geometry to be able to relieve, or we would have to put some kind of corner relief if we're trying to put a peg into that hole. So let's go ahead. I've opened up the metric template. We'll be on the front plane. Let's go ahead and do this one on the right. So we have that contrast. When I bring it into the assembly, the body is going to be kind of 90 degrees out, and we're going to have to manipulate one or the other. So vertical for construction, infinite length. Apply it to the origin and just accept it a couple times. This is going to have the reverse. So since I made the other one 60 degrees, I really need to make this one 60 degrees, and then we can start talking about things like clearances and fits. So going to have, they give us 5.5, so not quite as deep, and then 9.5, and that grabbed the dimension, so did not want that. So let's make sure I'm going to the point, not to the extension line. 9.5, so there are some clearances there. Did not really give us there it is, the 12.5 on that, so that's going to be quite a ways in between. Let's go to that one, 12.5. And I do want to check that angle because 61.39 still doesn't come out to anything that's going to be convenient to manufacture. So let's go ahead and make that one driven. Right click on that one and checkbox at the bottom undriven. 60 degrees, our fit. And then the overall, we have 20. And I'm good with the rest of the numbers. It's just the that dovetail presents its own kind of issues as we go. All right, and then the overall width is 55. And we want to right click, select, and window pick everything and go right into the mirror. And then this becomes 20 millimeters overall. So extrude. Midplane doesn't really matter since we're in midplane kind of mode. We'll stay with that. And I'm going to go with the pocket next. All right, in this one, we could do the center rectangle. If I do the center rectangle, I don't necessarily want it to be at the origin. Doesn't appear that we're going to pick that up, but we can use that center point. So 20 wide, and select the point that's generated in the rectangle and the origin, and those become horizontal. Back into the dimension and width of 12. All right, so from the, looks like, well, what's going to be the back, we have 5 millimeters. And a dimension to the hidden lines, which cannot say is a best practice, but it gets it done. We will try to do a little bit better. And this is going to become an extrude cut for a blind in condition of 16. Okay, so that gives us our shape, and while we're here we'll do the clearance for the 8 millimeters. Now I don't really need to do this as the hole wizard, and let's go Control 8 since apparently I have my rotate into sketch turned off, and we'll switch back over to the simple hole. But there are advantages to the hole wizard being able to add geometry, make changes as needed. So we're going to scroll down to the 8 millimeter, just do an up to next so that it stops on that next location, and into just picking the point so it places it. And while I'm in that context menu, going ahead and end. So, oops, went from the wrong side, so quick escape. Well, we'll just highlight that and delete it. Pick the top side, 10 millimeters. Still able to move, so select the center point, Control select the origin, and we'll make those vertical. Alright, so we see that it goes through the other side. If I go back to the isometric, Control 7, that puts it to where I can just look at these, pre-selecting the face, back into the tap. It shifted to a smaller, so we're going to pick the M5 by 0.8. Again, this one had the 10 millimeters on it, so this one we will probably just stay with the 10 millimeters. So blind in condition, 10 millimeter thread depth, hole depth of 12.4, and then we have the positions. So if I want to do symmetry, I'll put in a center line, and this one can just be from the origin to the top of the part. Right click to select the center line, Control select the point, mirror those entities, and then we have 9 millimeters to the hole locations from the top. Oh, try again. 9 millimeters, and then they're showing 10 millimeters off of the side, but again, I'd rather have them in relation to each other if I start making changes. So let's see how I did. I can put in a driven dimension. Oh, should have been 35. One more 10 in there. All right, so it is helpful to double check with those driven dimensions. We'll go ahead and accept the hole wizard, and then we have our geometry. All right, the fillets are a radius of 2. I think I've got all the rest of the geometry in place. So fillet, radius of 2. Can't really see the other inside edge. So rotate over, find our pop-up toolbar, select it, hit OK. And we'll save this as the vise floating jaw. Floating meaning that it just is the one that moves back and forth. All right, we'll go ahead and close that. We'll get out of that. Let's stay with the jaw. Actually, let's go back over and do this jaw first, and then we can take a look at the face. So nothing really fancy here on center line for the shape. So new metric. Probably will go ahead with this one on the front plane. Center rectangle centered at the origin. Also notice that I'm really just looking at that icon and I see that point in the center. And if I pull down, the last one that I used was center rectangle, so I'm staying in the center rectangle. Did something there, so let's Control Z real quick. I either clicked and didn't drag it out or finished the command, so it was expecting something else. All right, our height then is 18. The overall is 55. And we are going to extrude that out 5 millimeters. Okay, pre-selecting the face, going into the hole wizard, and this is now going to be a countersink. So with countersinks, the clearance for an M5, and if I show the custom sizing, we have 5.5 on the through, so that's a normal fit. If we go to loose fit, might make it a little closer to the 6 that they have listed. 10.4 is okay. Typically, let's just go up to next, and typically on these I will put in maybe another 0.2, so 8 thousandths, 0.2 millimeters, 8 thousandths, just to make sure that that screw sits flush and subflush. Right, so back into the select, into the center line. We'll just go from midpoint to midpoint, right click, select, window pick from right to left, mirror entities, and then this one's going to end up being 35 again. And since it's still in blue, means that it can move up and down, so left clicking on the object, seeing how it moves, and then since that object is still selected, I'm going to go right over and select the origin and hit OK. So this is going to be the vice jaw. And we'll call this video good here.